Right, back on the ramp, the Civic is back in. We painted the picture that this was Mr. Reliable. Today we're going to show you everything that was wrong with this car before the track day and then wrong with it during the hill climb. And later in the episode we're going to let you guys into the secret of what is happening next with the Civic and a little update on what will be happening next year because we're coming to the end of the year. Now, I painted the picture that this was Mr. Reliable and I pulled it off Gary's driveway, but the truth is the night before the Knock Hill race we were in the workshop. I put it on to do a spanner check, something I always do with all the cars the night before, and it had two front broken coil springs, so those had to be replaced, and it had play in the ball joint, so it got a lower front arm on the driver's side as well. There was no tracking set up or nothing with this, it went straight to the track. It also had a slight ABS fault and we had a new sensor. It was showing open circuit, and when we removed the sensor we found another problem which I'll show you guys later in the episode as well. The brake pads as well were wearing almightily thin, they're almost metal to metal, so I went into the hill climb a bit battered and bruised. We knew that. Without the ABS and the lock-up that happened, I lost a bit of confidence. Whether that plays a part in the Swift's victory, but the Swift won on that occasion. I'm not going to cry about it. So yeah, it's been a bit battered and bruised and neglected, so in today's episode we're going to remove everything, show you guys everything that was wrong with it, and then towards the end we're going to let you know what's next for the Civic. I've removed the caliper, sat it up, and now comes when I show you guys how low these pads actually are. These were the red stuff pads that were fitted when I done the brake upgrade. They have done a lot of just daily miles. They have done Silverstone, Knock Hill multiple times, the hill climb, etc. They've done a few stints, they've done a bit of hard work, they've done a bit of good braking, but now it's time to ship them out because they are almost non-existent. So I'll put my lever in here. We're not quite metal to metal, but we're very, very low. So, with my trusty gauge, hard to see, they might just be on the 2 mil actually, so they're just legal. But they're almost metal to metal. No much on them. Enough is to do that hill climb, I think, and no more. The thing about the hill climb was that you weren't doing 110, well, I've never done 110 at Knock Hill, 90 say, and then on the brakes hard. That probably would have been the last hurrah for the pads if that happened. They would have went metal to metal. Now the good thing is about catching them this close is we haven't actually ruined the disc. The condition of the disc is still pretty good, albeit there was a little bit of vibration coming through it when I done extremely hard braking at Knock Hill. The actual microphone could pick it up, but that's probably just because the brakes were overheating at that point and it was time to cool them down. That combined with thin pads wouldn't have been the best, so these are getting switched out. You can see that it's been eating the outside pad just a wee bit more than the inside pad. But these have to come off anyway because the bigger picture is we need into the wheel bearings, so we're going to have to take the hub off, the drive shaft out and everything so that we can press this bearing out.
The reason we need the bearing out is I suspect a magnetic strip for the ABS has failed. Let me explain and dumb it down so that even I can understand. There's a magnetic encoder seal on the bearing. The magnetic field is generated by the north and south poles of the ring as they pass the sensor, which I suspect has failed. The sensor detects alternating magnetic field and is converted to a digital signal for the ECU using a pulse width modulation method. Another type of ring uses a wheel with air gaps or teeth. This style has a magnet inside the sensor with a soft iron core and an induction winding. There's a small air gap. As it rotates, the air gap changes. It expands or contracts the magnetic field within the sensor, which induces current flow within the circuit, and depends on whether the tooth is approaching or passing. Both types of wheel will make an appearance later in the video.
So you guys have just seen my little, what would you call that, a schematic or whatever, I don't know. So this is a new wheel bearing, which will be pressed in, and that's the magnetic ring that needs to be picked up. What I thought was the pickup ring had disintegrated. There's actually a wee disc on the end of the drive shaft. It was full of stuff. Looks as if it might be full of parts off the ABS ring though. So I'm going to try and lever the shaft out a little bit, give you guys an insight into what's happening in here. If I can't get the drive shaft out in the position that it's in, I'm going to have to take the bottom arm off, and that will let the drive shaft come out. But to replace the bearing, we need the whole hub off anyway. But I want to try and see what the ring is like on the wheel bearing before we take everything off, because if the ring is intact and it's fine, then there's no need to replace the wheel bearing, because the bearing itself is fine. It's just an ABS fault we have. So what I think is the problem is this ring in here. Don't know if I can rotate it right now. I can. So we're getting a lot of build up there, see that? Which I think is actually residue off of the old wheel bearing, so it may have melted under heat or something because I'm so fast. So if you look in here, I'm going to get a pic to show you guys. I'm thinking this disc here on the bearing in here is crumbled, it's deteriorated, and the sensor, if Michelle can see that hole there, the sensor's coming out that hole and it sits very close to the disc there, to the ring on the wheel bearing, and it picks up your wheel speed. It's magnetic, or is it conductive, this one, or inductive, whatever it is. So it needs the ring, and I think it's been rubbing there. So I think that there is remnants, if that's the correct way to use that word, of that old ring. So I think the wheel bearing needs replaced, because we should have a fresh new ring like this sitting in there, and the sensor's going to sit at the side and read. So I think this pickup ring here is melted through heat and is kind of everywhere in there, and it's also melted onto this surface here. So we're going to have to take the hub off, get everything cleaned, press in a new bearing, and hope that fixes our VSA issue, because it's important for the next part of the video. Try and not do what Gary does, set himself on fire. You guys probably won't know that story yet, but Gary set himself on fire. He's got melted hands and a melted face. They call him Yankee Candle. Yeah. Spinning the ball joint. Yeah. Right, a trick we can try do here. So to solve the issue of the spinning joint on the track redan, I'm going to put some force underneath it. To do that, I'm going to use my Tony Armstrong Special. That's Matt's dad, for those who don't know. A block of wood solves everything. I always keep a few blocks of wood in the workshop. And we're going to put some pressure on that joint. Wee bit of pressure there. I'll put some juice on it just to help it, but you can see it's lifted the nut so far. Then just because it's old and rusty, it's got stuck and it's spinning the ball joint. So, Tony, this one's for you. Woo! That one's for Tony. Although my dad taught me that years and years and years ago, so if you don't know that, that's Workshop 101. So there's my suspicion is in there. I think that's ruined. This next part is us dealing with the wheel bearing. We need to smash the stub axle or the flange off, whatever you guys want to call it. That's the part that basically has the studs for the wheel. We need to smash it off so that we can press the bearing out the other way, and there's a C-clip in there. So the first thing I do is I get an old socket. I don't actually know the proper way to do this, and I'm doing it on the floor because although I have bought a workbench, we haven't set the whole thing up yet. So I'm getting a socket that covers the inner stub axle, covering it up. We're going to smash it as hard as we can. We'll press it back in, but we're needing to smash it out. I need you to maybe hold that side there just now, Michelle. Just hold that up. Don't worry, it's not going to hurt. I think I missed that time. I think it's cracked. It's on the way out. It's coming, baby. Yes. So, what we've done there is we have smashed the flange off. It always takes that outer race there with it off the bearing. So we're going to cut it off later so that we can put the new one on. This exposes our bearing and our C-clip here so that we can get this C-clip off. That one looks really rusty in there, so it's going to be a bit of a mission to get off probably. You can see in there that's what the bearings look like inside when they start whining. Normally they're dried out and they start whining and roaring, they get rough. But ours is an ABS ring issue, not a bearing issue itself. But they're built in, so we need to deal with it together. So we need to hope that this is going to be kind, or it's cutting the C-clips out can be a bit of a pain. But we're going to try and see if we can get this out. So Darren's got a set of good C-clip pliers. Mine are rubbish, to be fair. Yeah, that feels hard. So we're going to have to try and work it. Seized in there. This is what you'll expect when you work on old shit cars. So we're going to try and just get this working. So what I like to do is try and knock in here, but you need to watch you don't break the tab off it. See if we can get the C-clip spinning inside, and then we might be able to pinch it and remove it. It becomes hard. Yep, there goes one. Always happens. So now we can't pinch it. There's two broken. So this is going to be a nightmare. That's seized in there, good and proper. So I might actually get the air hammer in and try and get this moving round about. Or if not, I'm going to have to make cuts in it and try and smash the old clip out. So that's the mission right now. We will report back in a minute.
First was to attempt heat, and then when that failed, next was cutting. And then we tried the air chisel, which slipped and caught my hand. Then back to cutting. And 15 to 20 minutes later, some progress, finally.
It's moving! It's moving! Oh, please don't just break like that. Gosh damn it! Last piece. Oh, my back's sore, my hand's sore, my head's sore. Loads of wee cuts in it.
Then it's time to press the old bearing out.
It's like when Ace Ventura was squeezing out the rhino.
And in with the new one, we're hoping we'll resolve all our problems. Following all the drama, the new C-clip can be installed. Then I make a cut in the race of the old bearing still left on the flange and chap it off. Then the flange can be pressed back into the hub, and note you should support the centre of the flange and not press against the studs like I've shown here. And then the final part is to reassemble everything back on the car.
The light's still on. Oh my god.
What?
It says left rear. I've just done the front wheel bearing. It says left rear.
Why did you think it was the front?
I'm sure it was the front.
Where have you got?
No, I'm sure it was the front. This can't be true.
It's pitch black.
This can't. No, this can't be true. No, did we know? We did live data on this, did we know?
I don't know what you did.
So the night before, Kyle done. I bought that ABS sensor for the front left months and months and months ago, back when it got MOT'd. But then the car was parked at Gary's. So the night before we went to Knock Hill, we fitted the front left wheel speed sensor because that's the one it was. Unless I've said rear left and you've ordered the front left, because you've got a habit of that.
No, don't try and blame me now.
I'm sure we checked it and it said open circuit on the front left, and we checked live data, and it wasn't giving us a value. Yeah. They all flashed 7 there in the left rear, didn't it? I don't believe this. I genuinely don't believe this.
So is it just a sensor it needs for the back?
Don't know. Don't know. Why have we... So that front sensor was about 80 bucks and the wheel bearing was about 50
Maybe
odd.
it did need the front sensor though and the back sensor, and you fixed one problem and it's flagged up the other, and you've not noticed that it's been the back, you've just assumed.
No, it never had two at the same time. While I've had the computer on it, it's never had two at the same time. So unless it had two, magically when we brought it in, and one's went away, and I didn't know about the back as well. But
I mentioned earlier in the video you would see both styles of wheel speed ring, and this is why. So off come the back brakes for access, and the silver lining is the rear is easier because it's a front wheel drive car.
Everybody's chasing something. I gotta run to my party. I know.
so viewers, on the Handycam just now and by myself, I've stripped down the back as you guys have just seen. I'm going to give you guys a little more in depth of the back compared to the front and what exactly I'm doing here. So you can see in the back here, hopefully, I don't know if it's zooming here, I tried to remove the sensor and as soon as I touched it, it kind of crumbled. Now we don't know yet if it is the sensor or if it is the pickup ring like the front side as I showed you. So I'm going to show you the difference. I've been able to remove the disc and the brake as you've seen a minute ago, and that exposes the sensor on the back. It also exposes the ring, which I was going to show you on the new bearing. This comes as a whole hub with the flange and the studs, and you can see that it's got teeth on it as opposed to a magnetic ring. One induces its own current, so you can't resistance test it because you'll blow the sensor. Might be wrong there, let me know in the comments. And the other is like an on-off switch. I think that's the whole of it. It's like a square. One's a sine wave and one's a square. I think this is the square one. I know the sine wave, if you were to scope the sensor. But I've been able to remove it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to line this hole here up and I'm going to try and punch this out. These get stuck. This is just common behaviour for an ABS sensor. So I'm going to try and punch that one out, and then we're going to try the sensor first because all the teeth look whole on the ring, which would suggest it should be a sensor or a wiring issue and not the ring itself. So we're going to replace the sensor first and leave the bearing. I bought a bearing just to be safe in case I had to do both, but I think it looks okay. These bearings are just on with the big hub nut there, and it slides off and goes on as a whole, so there's no pressing or anything involved, which is a lot easier. I just wanted to show you guys this before we jump back onto time lapse.
I just wanna cry a river.
So the sensor has broken and it's seized in the hub. I'm using a punch to push it out from the inside, being careful I don't break the teeth on the ring.
I know, you know, I'm so cool. Yeah, I just wanna put all of my problems in the swimming pool.
With the new one installed, it's a quick rebuild and we can drop the car down and reveal what's next for the Civic.
I'm just 20 something. I got
I have a Maxton design splitter that was on the car when I bought it. I removed it because it was too low to come in. So it's to be bolted back on, and then the car is ready to be sold. It's something that I've been thinking about recently, and the channel's just going a certain direction, and I've got so much that you guys haven't seen yet. There's cars in storage, huge cars with huge potential for huge content, and I'm not sure what more I can do with the Civic. If I had the space, I would build this thing a museum. The things I've achieved with it, I mean, it's nuts and bolts and metal, but I can feel myself emotionally building up here. It served a purpose at a very, very important time in my life, which I'll probably get into as YouTube goes on. I'm not quite ready for that right now, but the things that it got me through and the things I've achieved, like, I'll have a bond with this car, but I don't know where it goes from here. I mean, I bought it to be a beginner's car, and it's been a beginner's car. What would you do next? Would you throw thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds worth of parts at the car to knock 1, 2, 3 seconds off a lap time at Knock Hill? I just don't see that being a sensible direction. I see it going to someone and letting them have fun with it. I think that's what I really want to do, if someone's willing to take it. If not, it will be kept and it will return in the future. I'm not letting it go for free. It'll need to go for what it's worth, basically. But that is a plan, and basically we've got massive projects coming. We've got the Integra, which is being pushed in and out of here every time I need to work on a car, and it needs all the attention on it. And then we've got 2, 3, 4 cars in storage waiting to get worked on, and I just feel this is the right decision. And I think it's fair that this car gets a proper send-off on the channel, and a proper, would that be memoir or would that just be a montage? I don't know. I'm not the best with words, especially in an emotional time. But let's give the Civic the send-off it deserves.
So here it is, guys. We've managed to land a Honda Civic FN2 Type R. I found this Civic on eBay, 99 pence no reserve, and it was written in the stars it would be the start of a beautiful friendship.
You spoke my name and life began. Breath filled dust and sand. Felt you in the cool of the night. Saw you in the newly made sky. And you were mine. Take me back to the garden where it all began. Take me back to the garden. We were walking hand in hand. My eyes were filled.
We worked through all the challenges it presented, got it back roadworthy, and headed for the track, where we would meet some of the best people possible and smash through goals I'd set myself.
And walk with me. Made in your perfect design.
I'm looking forward to it. You must be the only person that said that to me, I tell you.
Having the chance to meet Donnie was every bit as important as my relationship with the car. Donnie taught me how a car is supposed to go round a track.
Found my balls a bit, Donnie! Found my balls here. Yes, little Civic!
and I do things like this, and I fix these cars, and I'm always in a rush to go back home, and there's always someone that I tell my story and tell my day to, and it was obviously my dad. I've had so much fun here today, thanks to everybody for speaking to me and taking the time to get to know me and giving me the tips, and to Donnie and John for letting me out in their car.
And from there my brother Gary joined us on the track with a Toyota Aygo, something I wholeheartedly wish my dad was here to see. Thanks to Donnie's coaching, I smashed 21 seconds off my knockhill time, which gave us the courage to try a Formula 1 circuit.
Shit my pants. Oh my god. Oh, can you believe the hell they were in that over there?
Then, after a year on the sidelines, it came back to defend its streak against Gary, both in the dry and the wet.
I really got mad anxiety here. It's been nearly a year since we've been on the track. I had so much planned to say in my head about how I was going to slag Gary's car and everything else, and it's kind of gone out the window a wee bit now.
Take me back to the garden.
Finally, this Civic was knocked off its perch at Forrestburn Hill Climb Auto Test by the Swift.
My heart was filled with peace, captured by the mystery. It's all that I could see. Take me back to the garden.
Take me back to the garden.
To some people, they're just plastic and metal, but to me, it's more than that. The bonds I create with cars are important, and this Civic has got me through some of the most difficult times in recent years that I would never be able to pay it back for.